Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back. We're going to do something a little different today. This was actually a subscriber request. We're going to be making some Cordyceps dual extract tincture. The dual extract tincture process is kind of the gold standard for liquid medicinal extractions when it comes to mushrooms. The reason for that is there's some medicinal constituents that are easily extracted by alcohol. They're alcohol soluble. And there's other medicinal constituents that are primarily water soluble. So by doing both, you're maximizing your medicinal potential in your final liquid extract. I'm going to use a real simple process. I'm not using any fancy equipment or anything, basically just some quart jars and a food processor. There are ways to speed this process up. There's some ultrasonic equipment, soxhlet extraction equipment that can really speed the extraction process up. But I wanted to do something really simple that anybody could do at home. So before I get started and forget, I want to send out a big thank you to the people at the Making Mushroom Tinctures and Extracts Facebook group page. They're awesome people there. They helped me out a lot. I had some questions in the process of making this video. And especially the admins and the mods there, they helped out a lot. If you guys are interested in this kind of thing, check out that Facebook group. They're awesome people. There's everybody on there from rank beginners to people that have been doing this their entire lives. They're actually selling, marketing, medicinal extracts. Check out that Facebook group if you guys are into this kind of thing. And other than that, let's get started. So I have 5 ounces of dried Cordyceps militaris fruit bodies here. What we're going to do is we're going to take these fruit bodies, I'm going to put them in the food processor here, and we're going to grind them up. There's lots of different ways you can do this. These fruit bodies are really brittle, so you could just put these in a bag and squeeze them up by hand. You could do it in a blender, a spice grinder, lots of different options. But in general, when you're doing mushroom tinctures, you want to grind up your fruit body. And the reason is we're basically using our alcohol and water like a solvent. And we're trying to extract the medicinal goodies out of these fruit bodies. So by grinding them, you're greatly increasing your extractable surface area. So instead of that alcohol and water just being able to act and attempt to extract from the outer surface of the fruit bodies, you're grinding it up and creating all this extra surface area for your solvents to work on. And what we're going to do the alcohol extraction first. And what I'm going to start with is 60% alcohol. The way I got 60% alcohol is I started with Everclear. So Everclear is just 95% alcohol by volume, grain alcohol. And there's a real easy calculator online, distilled spirits calculator. You can enter your starting percentage, the percentage you want to finish with, and your volume, and it'll calculate it for you. So I use that to figure out how to turn our 95% Everclear into 60% alcohol. But what I figured out is these quart canning jars will hold if you fill it all the way to the top until it's just about to overflow, like right at the top of the rim. That's like exactly 1 liter. So if you just measure 630 milliliters of Everclear into your jar and then just top it off till it's just about to overflow with spring water, that'll be exactly 1 liter, and that'll put you at exactly 60% alcohol. And the reason I want to start with 60% alcohol is apparently with Cordyceps, Militaris fruit bodies, You don't want to use a really high alcohol concentration because apparently they've studied this and it kind of causes the mycelial cell walls to seal off and prevent you from extracting, which is the whole point of this. What I want to do is I want to get at least like a third to a half ground up fruit bodies in these jars before I pour in my 60% alcohol. And I'm using these plastic Mason Tough Tops lids. They're a plastic lid, PP5, and they come with a silicone sealing ring already inside, so they're leak proof. And because these are going to be sitting for a while, when you do your alcohol extraction, you want to do a minimum of 2 weeks, but if you can go longer than that, it's better. So we're going to go a full month or 4 weeks just in these jars. And I like the idea of using a plastic lid with a silicone sealing ring because it's leak proof and you don't have to worry about your lid rusting up on you or anything. So that's what we're going to go with. Let's go ahead and grind up our fruit bodies. I will put a link in the description of this video to that alcohol ratio calculator, and I'll also put links to my Cordyceps grow videos so you guys can see how to grow these beautiful Cordyceps militaris fruit bodies. Cordyceps is revered. It's probably one of the most revered medicinal mushrooms. It has a whole list of medicinal properties. I encourage you guys to research that online if you haven't checked it out. Just gonna pulse this till they're nice and ground up. Once you grind up these fruit bodies, it gets really dusty, guys, so you probably want to wear a dust mask for this step. Occasionally I'm getting some fruit bodies caught on the outer part of the blade, and I'm just cleaning those off as I go. Just be really careful, guys, because these blades are really sharp on these food processors. Alright, we still have a few chunks in there, but for the most part it's pretty ground up. So I'm just going to use a clean spoon and spoon our material into our jars. Okay, that looks pretty good. You can see that it condensed down a lot. We're right around a third to a half of material in the jar. That's right where I wanted to be. So we're going to go ahead and add our alcohol. One thing I wanted to mention too is that it is advisable to use dried product when you're doing this process. The reason is it won't affect your alcohol concentration in your calculations. If you were to be using fresh fruit body, which you can do, it does mess with your calculations in terms of your alcohol percentages, which is a pretty important part of this process. There is measuring equipment you can use just to measure your finished product at the end if you do want to use fresh product, but it's definitely a lot easier just going with dried. I'm going to go with a quick pour here because this jar is pretty full. We'll see how it goes. So it's good to sit this somewhere where you're going to walk by it, because it is good to give it a shake once every day, once every few days, whatever. But put it someplace you're going to see it so you don't forget about it. And just when you walk by it, give it a little shake and mix that material up in there, and that'll just help with your extraction process. All right, it's been a month and it's time to finish our tincture up here. We're going to do the water portion, but look at how beautiful that looks. I've been shaking it every so often when I walk by it, but with everything settled out on top there, you have that beautiful orange, almost amber color tincture on top. So what we're going to do now is we're going to strain this off. I just have this is a fine mesh strainer here, into a glass measuring cup so I can know what my quantities are. And this is just a clean piece of cloth. You could like cut up an old t-shirt or something, just make sure it's rinsed really well and clean. It's basically like t-shirt material here. And we're just gonna pour our tincture through there. We're gonna try and strain off all of this Cordyceps material because we're gonna use this to do our water-based extraction, which we're gonna do in the crock pot we have sitting behind us. The water-based part isn't nearly as time-consuming, so we'll be able to finish this up today. We have 60% alcohol in here. So we want our final product to be about 30% alcohol to be shelf stable. So whatever amount of liquid alcohol basically that we can strain off this right now, we're going to add that same amount of water-based extraction at the end to take it down to 30%. I'm going to use the cloth to capture all the mash, then we'll give it a squeeze because this is holding a lot of alcohol right now too, all this mushroom material. Okay, I think we did a pretty good job squeezing that out. So I'm gonna remove our strainer here. It looks like just over 2 cups of tincture there. So we're just gonna set this aside. And we're gonna put our mushroom material right into our clean crock pot. Bring you guys over here with me and show you this. There's our tincture there. The mash, nice and dry from the squeeze, compacted. So we're just gonna add some water to this. I'm probably gonna go with about 3 cups just to make sure we have enough. We may lose a little bit in the straining, but we wanna end up with just over 2 cups of water-based extraction to get our 50-50 mix. I'm gonna start out with 3 cups of spring water, and we're gonna kick this crock pot on low. And once it gets up to temperature, it'll be at a nice hot simmer. And once it gets up to temp, I'm gonna run it for about 4 hours at that simmer. And then we should be done. We'll go ahead and let it cool, strain it off, and combine it with our alcohol. Let's give it a little stir. Just put the lid on and set it and forget it. So we've already extracted our alcohol soluble medicinal constituents. Now we're going to go after those good water soluble constituents like the polysaccharides and that. So that's what this water portion is all about. So I'm just going to watch it, let it get up to temp. Once it gets up to temp, we got a nice hot simmer going. We'll run it about 4 hours, let it cool, and then we'll be ready to combine. It's been going about 4 hours. It took about an hour to get up to temperature. What I did to speed it up is I started it on high, and once it got up to temp, I just backed it back down to low. As long as you're going to be around to watch it, you can go ahead and do that, but you wouldn't want to leave it on high. I'll pull the lid off here, show you what it looks like. So there's a little bubbling around the edges, and not like a rolling boil or anything. If you had it up on high, this would be rolling pretty good, and that's not what we're looking for. I've just been taking a spoon every so often, just stirring everything up, keep it from getting all clumpy. So we're just gonna let it go 1 more hour covered, and then we'll let it cool. Alright, so that's the final product, guys. If you want to filter it one more time, it looks like there's a lot of sediment in there. You could actually do it through a coffee filter at this point, since we've already removed most of the sediment, and that would do a little finer filtration and get some of the sediment out there if it still looks a little too chunky for you. But if you're alright with a little chunk, you can go ahead and just use it right like this. So this is just as good as anything you would buy online, dual extraction tincture. You got all your alcohol soluble medicinals and your water soluble medicinals in there. So in terms of storage, you want to keep it out of direct light. If it's going to be just sitting on the counter, you'd want to put it in an amber bottle. But I'm probably just going to store it in a canning jar and keep it in the refrigerator. If you keep it in the fridge or in a cupboard in the dark, you can put it in pretty much anything, although I prefer glass. So that's it, guys. Let me know what you think. Hit me up in comments, and I'll catch you next video.